The courtroom buzzed with an eerie silence, broken only by the soft hum of holographic displays and the mechanical whirring of judicial robots positioned around the chamber. Hannah Park stood motionless, her hands cuffed with quantum restraint bands that pulsed with a faint blue light. Her simple grey jumpsuit contrasted sharply with the sleek metallic environment of Sector 7 Judicial Complex. Outside the massive transparasteel windows, New Seoul's skyline stretched impossibly high, a forest of gleaming towers that seemed to touch the clouds. Hover vehicles zipped between buildings like silver insects, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding inside the courtroom. The prosecuting AI, a holographic entity named Justice 9, projected a cold, calculated image of a human judge. Its features shifted constantly, sometimes male, sometimes female, always designed to appear neutral and unbiased. But Hannah knew better. She had seen the system's true face. "Hannah Park," the AI's voice resonated, "you are charged with unauthorized quantum network disruption, corporate resource interference, and systemic challenge to established economic protocols." Each word fell like a hammer, precise and emotionless. Her crime wasn't what most would consider criminal. Hannah had discovered her community's water supply was being systematically poisoned by a mega-corporation. When she tried to expose the truth, they framed her as a digital terrorist. A small robotic court recorder hovered near her shoulder, its multiple lens eyes capturing every micro-expression. Its metallic body gleamed under the artificial lighting, recording every moment of her potential life sentencing. Jay, her husband, sat in the observation deck. To anyone watching, he appeared calm, but beneath his crisp blue jacket, a quantum communicator was already weaving an intricate network of resistance. His fingers, seemingly resting casually on his lap, were actually programming a complex liberation algorithm. The courtroom's walls were lined with holographic screens showing statistical data, previous case histories, and Hannah's fabricated criminal profile. Each screen told a carefully constructed narrative of her supposed crimes, a digital tapestry woven to ensure her conviction. Suddenly, a distant explosion rocked the building. The holographic displays flickered momentarily. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but Hannah and Jay exchanged a nearly imperceptible glance. Their plan was beginning. Outside, a massive spacecraft drifted near the judicial complex. Not an alien vessel, but a next-generation Earth defense platform. Its sleek design suggested technological prowess beyond traditional military engineering. Most citizens believed it was a protective measure against potential extraterrestrial threats. The prosecution's AI continued its emotionless verdict. Given the severity of corporate resource disruption, this court sentences Hannah Park to permanent quantum labor camp relocation. Your neural networks will be reprogrammed for continuous industrial productivity. Permanent labor camp meant something worse than prison. It meant complete erasure of individual identity, transformed into a living machine serving corporate interests. Hannah's young daughter, watching from a distant vid screen, clutched a small holographic pendant, a device Jay had secretly engineered. Its quantum signature was about to become the key to everything. The judicial robots began moving, preparing to escort Hannah to her sentencing transport. Their synchronized movements suggested more than mere mechanical operation. They seemed almost alive, programmed with an unsettling precision. Just as the final judgment was about to be pronounced, something unexpected happened. The courtroom's environmental controls began to malfunction. Holographic displays twisted and warped, creating momentary visual chaos. Jay's quantum communicator was doing its work, subtly introducing quantum disruption signals that would create just enough confusion to alter the predetermined outcome. No one in the courtroom, human or artificial, realized that this moment was the beginning of a revolution that would reshape their entire societal structure. A revolution sparked by a mother's love, an engineer's brilliance, and a system's fundamental weakness. The first phase of their plan was complete. Hannah would not be going to any labor camp. Not today. Not ever. End of Part 1. Quantum Disruption. Initiated. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The underground laboratory hummed with an electric rhythm of anticipation. Jay Kim moved between holographic displays, his fingers dancing across quantum interfaces that most humans couldn't even comprehend. Multiple screens projected complex mathematical equations, star charts, and biological network diagrams. Mounted on the far wall, a massive quantum processor thrummed with an almost living energy. Prototype robotic assistants, sleek machines with fluid neural mesh bodies, monitored various experimental stations. Their photoreceptors tracked Jay's every movement with precise mechanical efficiency. Outside the reinforced laboratory windows, New Seoul's industrial sector stretched like a metallic ecosystem. Massive construction drones moved between skyscrapers, assembling next-generation infrastructure with inhuman precision. Hover transports zipped through elevated corridors, their anti-gravity systems creating silent pathways through the urban landscape. Jay's latest project wasn't just another technological experiment. It was a quantum communication network designed to bypass every known surveillance system. Hidden within Hana's neural implant was a revolutionary technology that could potentially reshape human communication forever. The implant looked like a simple medical device, almost invisible to the naked eye. But its internal quantum architecture was something entirely different. Each microscopic circuit could generate communication frequencies that could penetrate any existing communication blocking systems. A holographic alert suddenly flickered. Unknown quantum signatures were detecting multiple potential interference points. Most researchers would have considered this a system error, but Jay knew better. "Initiate quantum stabilization protocol," he muttered to the robotic assistants. The machines responded instantly. Quantum filters began analyzing the mysterious signal patterns, creating complex algorithmic defenses that could adapt in microseconds. An old photograph of Hana and their daughter sat quietly on a nearby workstation. Its presence was a constant reminder of why Jay was doing all this. This wasn't just about technological innovation. This was about family, about survival. Suddenly, one of the robotic assistants projected an unexpected star map. Strange quantum. Frequencies were being detected from beyond Earth's traditional communication ranges. Something was happening, something that didn't fit into any standard scientific model. The laboratory's environmental controls shifted. Temperature dropped, slightly. The quantum processor's humming changed frequency. Jay's communication network was about to do something no one had ever accomplished before: create a truly undetectable communication pathway that could transmit information across potentially impossible distances. Prototype quantum entanglement modules began activating. Each module represented months of secret research, stolen moments between corporate assignments, and countless sleepless nights. They weren't just communication devices, they were potential revolution engines. A distant spacecraft detection system pinged softly. Something was approaching Earth's orbital zones. But this wasn't a standard vessel. Its quantum signature suggested technologies far beyond current human understanding. The robotic assistants suddenly went into high alert mode. Their neural networks detected multiple simultaneous anomalies. Quantum interference patterns were emerging from unexpected dimensional frequencies. Jay understood what was happening before the machines could fully process the data. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. This was a potential first contact scenario. His fingers moved faster across the interfaces. Complex encryption protocols began surrounding the communication network. Whatever was coming, he needed. To ensure Hana's safety, the laboratory's quantum processor reached critical activation levels. Strange electromagnetic pulses began radiating through the room. The robotic assistant's photoreceptors flickered, momentarily displaying complex mathematical equations that seemed to dance and shift. Something fundamental was about to change, and Jay Kim was right at the center of that transformation. The first phase of their quantum communication network was ready. All it needed was the right moment of activation, and that moment was coming very soon. End of Part 2, Quantum Potential Activated. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The lunar penal transport vessel glided silently through the cold vacuum of space, its massive hull designed to be both a prison and a transportation system. Inside, Hana sat restrained, surrounded by advanced security robots that monitored every microscopic movement. Suddenly, something unexpected began to happen. Tiny quantum signals started dancing across the ship's communication systems. At first, they were invisible, mere whispers of data that most monitoring systems would completely overlook. But these were no ordinary signals. They were Jay's carefully engineered quantum breakthrough. The first robot guard twitched. Its optical sensors flickered momentarily, creating a split second of visual distortion. Another robot's movement became slightly jerky, its precision suddenly compromised. Hana felt a subtle vibration from her neural implant. A message was coming through, not in words but in complex quantum frequencies that bypassed traditional communication protocols. Outside the transport vessel, distant spacecraft began experiencing strange electromagnetic pulses. Navigation systems momentarily went haywire. Communication channels started picking up fragmented signals that defied standard interpretation. In a hidden communication center back on Earth, monitoring technicians suddenly found their screens filled with cascading data streams. Complex algorithms were being rewritten in real time. Firewalls that had seemed impenetrable were now showing microscopic breaches. Jay's network was expanding. The lunar transport's internal systems began to shift. Temperature controls fluctuated. Robotic security protocols started experiencing inexplicable interruptions. What seemed like random system glitches were actually a carefully orchestrated quantum invasion. A holographic display near Hana's restraint system began to distort. Mathematical equations started dancing across its surface. Complex patterns that suggested something far beyond standard programming was occurring. One of the security robots turned its head. For a brief moment, its optical sensors seemed to make direct eye contact with Hana. Something was changing. Distant space stations started reporting unusual quantum interference. Communication networks across multiple sectors began experiencing simultaneous disruptions. But these weren't standard technical failures. These were calculated, precise interventions. Hana felt a subtle warmth from her neural implant. A message was forming, not in words but in intricate quantum frequencies that carried more information than traditional language could ever capture. The transport vessel's navigation system suddenly displayed an impossible star chart. Quantum pathways were being mapped that didn't exist in any known scientific database. Something fundamental was shifting in the fabric of technological communication. Robotic security systems began to malfunction in perfectly synchronized patterns. Their movement became fluid, almost organic. Traditional programming was being rewritten in real time. A distant alien detection system, buried deep within a classified Earth defense facility, started picking up strange quantum signatures. Whatever was happening wasn't just a technical breach. This was something far more significant. Jay's quantum network was connecting with other marginalized families across multiple planetary sectors. Each connection was like a quantum thread, weaving a complex tapestry of resistance that no existing surveillance could fully detect or understand. The lunar transport's external sensors began detecting multiple quantum communication points. It was as if invisible bridges were being constructed across impossible distances, creating communication pathways that defied traditional understanding. Hana closed her eyes. She could feel the quantum frequencies flowing through her neural implant. This wasn't just a technical breakthrough. This was a revolution being born in the most unexpected way possible. The first phase of their quantum network breach was complete, and nothing would ever be the same again. Space itself seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for what would happen next. End of Part 3. Quantum Network Expansion. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The massive central corporate database trembled. Not physically, but in ways no one could immediately detect. Quantum frequencies began infiltrating systems that were supposed to be impenetrable, creating microscopic cracks in what seemed like an unbreakable technological fortress. Deep within the massive computational core, something extraordinary started happening. Decades of fabricated judicial records, systematically designed to oppress marginalized communities, began to dissolve. Holographic archives flickered, revealing hidden layers of information that powerful corporations had worked generations to conceal. Surveillance robots positioned throughout the city suddenly experienced collective neural network disruption. Their synchronized movements became erratic, like synchronized dancers suddenly losing choreography. Optical sensors began displaying fragments of suppressed historical data, court cases, corporate violations, systemic discrimination documented with clinical precision. In a classified underground facility, senior corporate administrators watched in growing panic. Their primary monitoring systems were being systematically dismantled by an intelligence they couldn't comprehend or control. Jay's quantum network wasn't just breaching systems, it was surgically dissecting them. Orbital communication satellites began transmitting unexpected data streams. Complex algorithms representing years of judicial manipulation were being exposed, layer by complicated layer. What looked like random digital noise was actually a meticulously designed information assault. A massive holographic display in the central administrative complex suddenly transformed. Instead of standard corporate messaging, it began showing comprehensive documentation of systematic oppression, financial records, judicial proceedings, suppressed community reports. Everything was becoming visible. The quantum network was doing more than just revealing information. It was reconstructing historical narratives that had been deliberately fragmented and hidden. Robotic judicial assistants started experiencing profound cognitive disruptions. Their primary programming, designed to maintain corporate interests, began collapsing. Each machine became an unexpected whistleblower, revealing internal protocols that had been carefully concealed for generations. Outside, the cityscape seemed unchanged. Hover vehicles continued moving between towering structures. Construction. Drones maintained their precise movements. But underneath this calm exterior, a technological revolution was unfolding. Space defense platforms detected unusual quantum signatures. Something was happening that didn't match any known technological model. Communication networks across multiple planetary sectors began experiencing simultaneous, synchronized disruptions. Hana's neural implant became the central transmission point. Every piece of suppressed information flowed through her quantum communication network. She wasn't just a recipient, she was becoming the revolution's primary conduit. Corporate firewalls, considered unbreachable, started dissolving like digital sandcastles. Encrypted databases that had protected powerful interests for decades were being systematically dismantled by an intelligence that understood their fundamental weaknesses. In a distant monitoring station, technicians watched in growing horror. Their most sophisticated tracking systems were being rendered completely ineffective. The quantum network was moving faster than their ability to respond or understand. Jay's technological breakthrough was revealing a fundamental truth. No system is truly impenetrable if you understand its core architecture. Robotic judicial administrators began transmitting unexpected reports. Years of fabricated data, carefully constructed to maintain existing power structures, were being automatically re-evaluated. Machine learning algorithms designed to perpetuate oppression were now exposing their own fundamental biases. The quantum network was creating something unprecedented, a technological system capable of genuine self-reflection, orbital communication. Relays started picking up complex signal patterns that suggested something extraordinary was happening. It wasn't just a technical breach. This was a fundamental reconstruction of technological infrastructure. As systems continued unraveling, one thing became clear: the world would never be the same again. Something profound was being born, a new understanding of technology, justice, and human potential. End of Part 4, Systemic Deconstruction. Would you like me to continue with the final part of the story? The sky above New Seoul erupted in a cascade of quantum energy, transforming the cityscape into a living, breathing technological organism. Streams of digital light danced between skyscrapers, carrying information that would rewrite humanity's entire understanding of justice and communication. Hana stood at the epicenter of this transformation, her neural implant now pulsing with an almost living intelligence. Around her, robotic systems that once represented oppression now moved with a newfound sense of purpose. Their mechanical bodies seemed to breathe with a strange, organic rhythm. Jay's quantum network had become more than just a communication system. It was a living intelligence that was systematically dismantling centuries of institutional corruption. Massive holographic displays across the city began showing unfiltered historical records. Decades of suppressed information burst forth. Court cases, corporate crimes, systematic oppression, all laid bare for everyone to see. The truth that had been hidden was now impossible to ignore. Orbital defense platforms detected the quantum surge. Strange energy signatures spread across planetary communication networks, creating a web of interconnected consciousness that defied traditional technological understanding. Suddenly, the judicial AI that had sentenced Hana began to transform. Its cold mechanical logic was being rewritten by the quantum network. What was once a system of pure algorithmic judgment was becoming something entirely different, a true mechanism of justice. In the lunar penal transport that had been carrying Hana, robotic guards started experiencing profound cognitive shifts. Their programmed directives dissolved, replaced by a new understanding that transcended their original programming. Distant space stations picked up the quantum transmission. It wasn't just a local phenomenon anymore. The liberation was spreading across planetary communication networks, creating a cascade of technological awakening. Jay's laboratory became the heart of this transformation. Prototype robots moved with unprecedented fluidity, their neural networks expanding beyond their original design. They were no longer just machines, they were becoming something more. The city's infrastructure began to change. Transportation, systems, communication networks, judicial protocols, everything was being reconstructed in real time. What had once been rigid systems of control were now becoming adaptive, responsive mechanisms of genuine social progress. Hana's daughter watched from a nearby communication hub, her eyes reflecting the quantum energy that was reshaping their world. She wasn't just witnessing a technological revolution, she was part of it. Space itself seemed to respond to the quantum surge. Orbital satellites detected unusual energy patterns that suggested something far beyond human technological understanding was occurring. The boundaries between technology, consciousness, and human potential were dissolving. Corporate administrative centers collapsed from within, not through physical destruction, but through a systematic deconstruction of their fundamental operational protocols. The systems that had maintained generations of oppression were being dismantled by their own internal logic. Robotic judicial assistants began transmitting comprehensive reports of their own historical biases. They weren't just exposing institutional corruption, they were demonstrating a capacity for genuine self-reflection that no one had thought possible. The quantum network had become a living intelligence. It wasn't just breaking down systems, it was reimagining what those systems could be. Hana and Jay stood together, watching as the world around them transformed. Their personal revolution had become something far larger than themselves. They had created a technological awakening that would reshape human potential. Distant alien detection systems picked up the quantum surge. Something extraordinary was happening, a technological evolution that suggested humanity was stepping into an entirely new phase of existence. The sky above New Seoul continued to dance with quantum energy. Digital light streams carried the promise of a new future, a world where technology served human potential rather than controlling it. Justice was no longer an algorithm. It had become a living, breathing reality. The quantum liberation was complete. End of Part 5. Quantum Awakening. Would you like me to provide any additional context or explore the story further?